Hey, women of Why She Adventures, it's Senka here, and with me on this conversation on the Why She Adventures conversation series, we have got Laura Douglas from Real Country. Hey, Laura!
Going on?
Just hanging with the rad chick. How about you?
About the same, but you're definitely looking a lot radder than what I feel right now. What's your secret?
Good lighting and angles.
Yeah.
You've had a big day though, haven't you?
No, it's great. I think like a lot of people, we're just doing whatever we have to do right now to make ends meet. And for me, that is teat sealing cows. And for the inundated who don't know what that is, it's basically cows walking up onto a platform, yanking on their tails to line them up. So it's a really good upper body workout. And you have to clean all their teats, and then you put some sealant up them. And while you're doing that, if they need to have a poo or have a pee, it goes all over you.
Yeah, girl.
Glamorous.
Natural face mask going on.
Yeah. But no, I'm working with an amazing group of girls. So there's 4 of us chicks that just dominate it, and it's just awesome being part of a team again.
Yeah.
Solo for so long.
It's so awesome. Laura and I met, it'll be a few years back now, right, at an event that was based around the tourism space, and you were just about kicking off, or just kicked everything off with Real Country. So it's so nice to catch up again and hear how everything's going, even given our current climate and things like that. You've done some amazing stuff. I am always following everything that you're doing on Facebook, and I've seen your business go from strength to strength. And that's a real, like, going back to what you're just saying, you just spent the day like dealing with some situations. Like, you're just one of those girls that I know you just get stuck in and able to muck about and get it done. And I love that. And so I was like, I can't wait to talk to you today, and for all the women out there, just to hear your story, what you're about, and you'll get to meet a real country girl. So let me give you so for all you ladies who haven't met Laura before, let me give you a little bit of background about her. So Laura's a southern girl. She grew up on a farm in Southland, and she, would you believe it or not, actually pursued a corporate career after completing her MBA. Yes, she's got smarts. And then after a few years, she decided that the city life wasn't for her. Amen, sister. She missed the farm, the outdoors, interacting with people, and on a real level, and most of all, she missed her true self. And I'm excited to talk about that with you. So she quit her life in 2016 and founded Real Country. Yay for everybody out there. It's an agri-tourism company based in the south of Queenstown that specializes in giving guests a real and authentic rural experience, which we'll talk more about. And like everybody, since the COVID, her world's been tipped upside down. She lost all her business income, forcing her to pivot, which is the 2020 word, adjust and look for new opportunities. And the one thing I know for sure is that whatever direction you go and take, I know that you will succeed in that, because that's just who you are once you set your mind to something. From everything I've seen of you and know of you in the times that we've met and stuff. So
Aww. Thank you.
You're awesome. So I remember when we first met, it was, like I said, it was an event that we were promoting tourism, about social media marketing and all that sort of space. And you were talking about also setting up like a Southern Girl finishing school. And I was like, oh my gosh, please tell me more about that. So give us a little bit of a background about that, because I love the fact that you did the corporate world and then you just went, no, this is not for me.
Yeah, well, so grew up on a farm, and farming was always part of my DNA. It was just that for my dad, when he was younger, it was be a farmer or be a farmer. So we were never really encouraged to take over the family farm at all. So my younger brother, he's an orthopedic surgeon, and I went away to uni, did an undergrad degree, and then did an MBA, and then started, my first job was with Deloitte in Wellington.
Wow.
Analyst in the corporate finance division. So I was on a computer all day, valuing companies and doing merger and acquisitions with the partners and stuff. And honestly, at the time, I was like, small town country girl, look at me now in my stilettos and my little pencil skirts.
I'm living my best life.
I'm living the best life. And for a while, that meant so much to me. I was really, it was fulfilling, but only on a very surface level. I then made a lot of mistakes when it comes to my choice in men, as I'm sure probably a lot of women listening have. I didn't really value myself. I lost myself completely in my early 20s and ended up following professional rugby player overseas to South Africa, Dublin, and I sort of picked up different corporate roles as I went, never ever doing what I wanted to do, making the best of any situation. And I always did really well work-wise, always made great friends and had just an amazing time wherever I went. But having these really negative relationships really started taking its toll. I had all sorts of issues going on that I'm really not proud of who I was back then at all. And it happened so slowly that by the time I was in my last major role in 2016, I had a really bad relationship with alcohol. I was binging and purging to try and control the stress and anxieties and kind of punishing myself for the things I'd do drinking. And it was this massive negative spiral that no one to this day knew about at all. So not even my best friends had any idea how bad it really was. And so
that must have been a really tough space to be in, like, going through all of that. And I'm sure anyone watching this is maybe they're going through it right now. Maybe they've been through it. Maybe they know somebody else who's going through it or been through it. But, it must have been really tough for you to be in that space, knowing on some level it's not really who you are and what you want to be.
Yeah. It takes a long time to really get it, though. And speaking from experience and definitely what I was doing, I was in denial a lot. I was trying to convince myself that what I was doing is what I wanted. And for a long time, I was able to act the role and it masked a lot of other problems. So, like, don't get me wrong, I was always really outgoing. I always had fun. But deep down, I wasn't myself and I wasn't who I should have been. And it led to a lot of really shitty life choices and just not being satisfied at all, making a lot of money. And at the time I was like, why am I not happy? I'm making all this money. I've got all this cool stuff going on. What is wrong with me? And I knew that men were a big part of the issue. But I just couldn't stop it. It was like this massive, negative, horrible feedback loop, and I couldn't get out of it until one day I sat at my desk, and I can't remember that day at all. I can't remember what happened, but I drew this picture with a biro pen on a bit of refill paper, and it started drawing me, and I had a glass of whiskey in my hand. I had a dog at my feet standing on a veranda. I was overlooking a driveway with a sick jet boat and an awesome off-road truck. And then behind them, there was a fence with a horse and mountains. And then without thinking what I was doing, I wrote Laura's life in 5 years down the bottom. And that was not a conscious decision. That all kind of happened. But once it was sitting in front of me, I was like, what am I doing? Even if I had all the money in the world, in the middle of Auckland, doing this life, I'm never going to have this life that I so clearly want. And so 2 months later, after, I didn't just up and leave that day. That would be a bit dramatic. I did have kind of a little plan. I basically handed in my resignation and left my whole life behind and sold my little town car and bought my first ute, which was so exciting.
Yes.
His name was Jim and he was a Holden Rodeo.
I just want to pause on that. I said to you, and Brendan, watch this, I just caught up with Kaylee Thompson. She's a huge four-wheel drive fan, and I said to her, am I the only person that names my vehicles? Because I've got Hank the Tank. She's like, no, I've got Ruby, the Rubicon Jeep. And then you're like, Jim. I'm like, yes, we do.
Oh, well, because honestly, when it happened, it was me and Jim against the world.
Yes, I love it.
And like the color of Jim, that's the gold color, that's my logo. So the color that's my branding, that was Jim. So yeah, he's very much an integral part. I had a website. I was registered with the company's office. I'd registered for GST and I had Jim. So that was the business. And
done. We're underway.
And yeah, just moved south. And honestly, I did a big brain dump of ideas, like stuff I'm really good at, stuff I need to learn, things that fill my heart, that give me lots of passion and love, and other things that make me satisfied. And I drew this big like correlation between all these things. And there were two things that really stood out for me. One was the feeling of satisfaction I had when I was in university, and I would go out hunting with a group of boys quite a bit. And one night we were at this big party, and I honestly felt a little bit attacked, but these three girls came over, partners of the guys I go hunting with, and they were like, look, we actually really want to go, but we've been out, like one of them has been out once, and the other boys just took the piss out of her the whole time. And, you know, we just don't want to embarrass ourselves. And so I was like, I'll take you out. And so I took the girls out. And it's not just how to shoot a gun, how to stick a pig, gut it, carry it out, cut it up, all of that stuff. It's don't wear perfume. In fact, don't even bloody shower the morning of a hunt. Don't slam the truck doors when you get out, because those are all the things that boys kind of pick on girls for. And just going out with me once, these girls then became the most avid female hunters to this day that I know, because they just went out and they didn't do any of the silly things, and the boys just loved it. And I just felt so fulfilled. And so this was one of the things in my mind map. And then the other was connecting with the land and with animals. I'm a massive animal lover. And so Real Country started with a really cheap 20 gauge single shot gun, a couple of bow and arrows from hunting and fishing. I brought some stuff from the warehouse so I could do like a chili bin and thermos of tea and coffee. And I tracked down a dude in Timaru who makes stock whips by hand out of his garage.
Yeah.
And I just started taking people one or two at a time to a mai, and I'd teach them how to shoot guns and crack whips, and it was just fucking cool, and I just loved it. Had no money because in my prior life I just wasn't happy, had no long-term plans, so I just spent it all. And I just started doing it. I didn't have a massive business plan or huge marketing plan. I just had this passion and this solid determination to make it happen. And on the side, I was four-wheel driving for a off-road company in Queenstown. I was a clay target shooter for another company in Queenstown. And I'm just doing my little side hustle just after hours and on days off. And then what really propelled it for me, there were two things. There was Kentucky is a global tour operator, and me being me, I don't play by the rules. And in tourism, there's a set of rules. So there's on who you can contact. So normally someone like me wouldn't just cold call Kentucky. I'd sort of go through an agent and do it all that way. Didn't care. Cold called them, had a chat, sent an email, and then it just so happens that they were looking for a farm kind of experience. And they had a meeting with me and said, look, I know you don't do farm shows right now, but we'll give you 1 year to set up and we'll contract you for 2 years. And I was like, I don't even know what this means. This means that I have set income. I know when the buses are coming through. I know that I've got a base income that I can then grow from. Holy shit, I can give up all of my job, and instead of being a side hustle, this is like my hustle. And so that was in 2017.
How did I just to pause on that? How did that make you feel? Because I know what it's like when you hit a new level in your business and you're like, all of a sudden you don't need to be doing these other jobs, because you got to do what you got to do to get the business launched, and you've got this kind of semi vision of where you want to go. You're like, I know I want it to be this. Like, how was that really for you to land that? Because that ain't no small feat, honey. Like that, I remember hearing when that happened, and I couldn't have been more stoked for you.
It was, I have to, like, I'm trying to, one of my weaknesses and one of the things that I'm trying to get better at is celebrating the small wins, and in this case, the not so small win. I can remember the day, I can remember the bottle of champagne I brought, but beyond that, it was just head down, bum up, just make this shit happen. And I had a lot of work to do in that year.
Yeah.
So it was, there was a lot going on, but it was like, next, what do I need to do next? And with me, it's always next. And, since the first Kentucky bus came into the farm, and I've still got a video of it, like driving off the road, coming into the farm. And I also have my offsider to contrast that video. I'm going to have to put it together because it's pretty powerful. But the look on my face when the first bus came in to when the last bus was at the farm about 6 weeks ago, and I was just bawling. I had 50 people there for a farm show, and I'm sitting there crying in front of them. It was very, very emotional. So it's been like, Kentucky's a massive part of my business, and they're not the only part of the business now. From there, that was just a really nice base for me to just springboard off, and having regular income and starting to grow that commercial side allowed me in May last year to start my first ladies only duck shooting workshops.
Yes.
And I was really nervous about doing it to start with. I didn't know if anyone would actually sign up to them. So it was just $80 for a full day workshop. And you come out and I teach you everything you need to know about shotguns, different shotguns, guns that suit you, different ammo, safety stuff, and then how to shoot the shit out of clay targets. So we had like different clays set up everywhere. And
I love it. You must have, like, it must have taken off. Like when I had adventure, when it was Adventure Girls, it was like we had a shooting adventure, and that and the dirt biking always had a wait list on it, because it's just those real things that are so male orientated, and there's just women itching to do it, and they just don't want to go with the dudes for whatever reason, and they just want to go with a bunch of girls and ask the questions that they think are silly, that maybe guys might not answer in a nice way. Like, it must have just taken off. Our shooting adventure always had a wait list, and we did shotguns, rifles, and handguns, and we started with the light stuff, and then we finished, like, we started on like a little 22, and then we finished on a 357 Magnum, which was epic, always epic. So please tell me it went off.
Yeah, it did, and it's but it was always a passion thing for me. So I'd only run the workshops when I had time, or it wasn't a money-making thing for me. It was just, I really want to do this. And off the back of it, they had to learn how to call in ducks, set a pond, pluck, gut, and cook their ducks that they caught. And
wow,
like it was awesome. And then
100%. What a great set of like skills to be able to have for anybody to have. But to be able to do that, I mean, you can go to the supermarket and go buy a duck, or you can go and collect it yourself.
Yeah. No, I'm all about gathering my own meat when I can, when I've got time to go out and get it. Something I'm really proud of, particularly in the early days. And to be honest, now, in the early days, I had no money. Now things are very tight. So when people do favors and help me out, which happens a lot in a small rural community, people are okay, you're not paying them, but it feels so good to me to be able to give them a venison backsteak or a duck that they can roast or whatever. And it's a means of currency for me, and it has been for a long time. So
yeah,
that's really cool.
That's undervalued too. I don't think everyone does things for people in expectation for exchange of money or actually anything back. Sometimes people are just doing that in kind, and being able to do that, give them something that is of value for you that you've worked for, whether that's doing that or baking or just something like that. It does feel really good to be able to go, I appreciate what you're doing for me, so here's my gift back to you.
Yeah, and it's I think it's just that farming background and the fact that I was brought up hunting. It was just a part of our life back growing up, so it just felt right. But from that, I sat down with my girlfriend who I did the duck shooting workshops with, and I was like, can you help me do a workshop for young girls? And she was like, and I said, I had this original idea. So way back before there was real country, it was going to be pretty similar to yours, actually. It was going to be female only. It was going to be teaching chicks how to do cool shit. And it was going to be called the Southern Girl Experience.
Yes.
Someone pointed out to me that it sounds like a strip club.
The word experience may have been the word that would have been the yeah. And I'll show you an experience, sunshine.
Yeah, and then it was taking off 50% of the market. And so after that, I sort of went down the more tourism route. But the original idea was this finishing school, where traditionally finishing schools are where mums in British society would send their young girls to learn how to be proper little ladies and walk with books on their heads and all that sort of stuff. And I was just like, fuck it. My definition of a proper lady is one that's like practical, capable, confident. And so I wanted to run a finishing school for young girls that would teach them that, how to be confident, how to feel like they're capable, and just teach them some really cool practical skills. So the actual activities and the workshop schedule hasn't changed from the very first workshop I did. It just works so well. It's working and communicating with horses, it's shooting guns, it's changing tires, jump starting flat batteries, straining up a wire fence, these kind of things that young girls don't often have the chance to learn. And if they do, it's usually a lot later in life. So 11 to 16-year-old girls who are still in that real influential stage. And the amount of girls that stay in touch with me now, that come out and work with me in the school holidays, it's just, I get so emotional after every single one. Parents calling me afterwards, telling me how, because a lot of the girls are very shy, very lacking in confidence. Some of them, I had one girl who had a really rough home life. I won't go like very rough, and she slipped on the socket as she was loosening the nut, and she just started crying. She's like, I'm so sorry, I'm so useless, and I almost cried. I was like, you're absolutely not. Did you not see me slip on it before? You're doing so well. But there are girls that have no confidence whatsoever, and it's just heartbreaking. And then to have not this particular kid, but another parent phone me, and he said, did you get the photo I sent? I said, no. And he'd sent it to me on Facebook. And so I went and had a look, and there's this 11-year-old girl standing there with this log that's like 2 times the height of her and about the same width. And he said, she went down to the lakefront walking the dog, tied her leash around the log, dragged it all the way home behind her. And when I asked her why she did that, she said, because I want to lift heavy shit like Laura. And so like just having such a positive impact on these young girls when they're in that influential stage is the most empowering feeling. It's also a big responsibility, but I just love it, and it just absolutely fills my heart so much. And now I get the opportunity to do many more of them because I don't have to fit them in around work because there is no work. So it's just workshops for days.
Making it happen 24/7. That's so inspiring, because I think when we met, there was definitely, that was a huge part of the conversation, obviously, with Adventure Girls. That like piqued my interest because I was like, oh, that sounds amazing. Like, you know, everyone's got their own flavor for how they bring their unique set of skills and joy and passion and know-how, and then to help influence women, young women at that age. Like, the ripple effect of that goes far beyond what we can even comprehend. It's not just that confidence that they get and instill in themselves. It's like, then as those young confident women, they then go out to the world and spread that as well. So you do that via that. My sister, she does Waka Ama, and she coaches a lot of the, you know, the juniors, and instills a whole lot of, you know, life skills and things like that. So tell you what, I wish I knew how to change a tire back at that age, and stuff like that. And I remember you talking like backing a trailer and all those things. So I was like, oh, like, I still do not have that shit mastered. I'm like, down. It's pain. It's almost painful. Sometimes it's like, bang, got it. And other times it's just like, oh, my life.
Yeah, the backing the trailer with the adult ladies workshops I do, it's always the one that most of the ladies are like, oh, and you've got to do it. The reason I love working with ladies so much in a female-only environment is because I have no issue mucking up in front of them or making a bit of a dick of myself. And as soon as the girls feel comfortable making mistakes and comfortable mucking up, and then all of a sudden, because there's no ego involved at all, like when it's a really supportive, and you'll know all about this, it's brilliant. And you know, so I'll have a go and I'll be like, right, I'll set up all these real like hard cones and I make it look like I'm the boss, and I'm like, this is how you do it, girls. And then I just give it a bash and knock some cones over. And they're just like, how are you going to be teaching us this? I was like, okay, that was really hard to start with. Okay. And so, you know, we start small, and again, in a really short amount of time, you're not going to become a professional, but you learn the basics. So in the future, you can apply those basics and just get better. So it's awesome.
Yeah, it's like anything though, right? It's like, it's building those layers of confidence. And then it's like, even if you don't master that thing, backing a trailer, you know, even if you don't master it that time, hopefully you go away with the confidence to go, I tried that thing, I've done good, I can reapply that. And again, it's just that confidence in doing something new, and maybe even sucking at it, but you stepped out and you did it, because that's really what it's about, right? Like trying new things and, you know, testing out all these new parts of, you know, who you are and what you want to try, and not bottling that up. And it kind of almost ironically goes all the way back to you drawing that picture of you going, this is the life that I want to create. Like, some subconscious part of you knew you wanted that. And it's like, you know, once you put something like that out in front of you, it's so hard to not want that thing that I think we inherently know we are destined and here to do. We just put a little bit of maybe what society thinks we should do, what our parents think we should do. We're too afraid to step into being that person, you know, that real country southern girl. Like, how's that going to work? And we just come up with these stories and these excuses, and we live this life that really isn't true to who we are. And it's not everybody who's listening to this doesn't need to quit their day jobs and go and, you know, find themselves and stuff like that. It's the fact that you do, like, there are parts of us that we, I think, through life and as we get older, we just keep putting more excuses and more layers in front of ourselves as to what we should do and how we should pursue it. And yeah, I think that when we're in moments of stuff really happening in our lives, or moments of real stillness, that part comes out, and sometimes we go, what? Nah, it's too fucking scary. I don't want to do it. No, I'm going to have a drink instead and go and party. Or you go, oh, fuck. Okay, here it is again. Maybe I should do something with it.
Yeah, one of the things I say to anyone who comes out when I'm teaching stuff, there's no right or wrong way. It's just whatever works. And every time I'm teaching a skill or anything, I'm trying to apply a wider context to it, because I have had the benefit of growing up on a farm, and part of which makes me able to do what I do is because I have this really resilient number 8 why I can do attitude. And so I am not an expert in anything. I'm not the best shooter, the best off-roader, the best farmer, the best anything. And that's not what I'm about at all. I'm about I will apply my abilities to the best I can to do the best I can in whatever it is. And I was on TV3, The Project, a couple of nights ago.
Yeah, congratulations.
Oh, okay, thanks. It's good to get a little bit of PR in this time.
Yeah.
But I've had an insane response in the last couple of days since that aired about people saying, how are you so positive? I love that you're so positive. I wish I was as positive. It's amazing to see you being so positive, just constant since it aired. So I shared a post today about when this happened, I wasn't positive straight away. I didn't just go, oh, great, the business and income's gone. Cool. There was a real serious grieving process. And
oh, absolutely.
I was inconsolable, and I don't cry. But I was bawling for about 2 days in a row, just uncontrollably. And it was really, really hard. I was very despondent. And it came to the point where someone said to me, in 10 years' time, when you look back, this will be a blip in your balance sheet. And there's going to be opportunities that come out of this that you can't even see right now. And so I sort of checked my ego at the door, because a lot of my grieving was for losing the business that was me, and it's my whole identity. So there was a lot of ego tied into it. And it was the realization that I'll be able to make money. I'll go casual shepherding. I'll go swing off cows' tails. I'll do whatever I have to do. I'll make money to survive. And the business, as long as I have the right attitude, be there when the tourists come back. And so I pulled my socks up, and now it's just in the get shit done. And I've taken the income away, but they haven't taken away my core values, my passion. That's all still there. And when the business comes back, it might be slightly different, and the wind's blowing it in a slightly different direction, but the foundation's still there. And that's something people can't take away from you, as long as you have that right attitude. So you don't need to be an expert at it. You don't need to have this incredible plan that's going to see everything succeed exactly the way you want it to. It's that attitude of going, I will work it out. I'll make the best decision I can, action it, and then make the next best. And that's success for me is never, ever going to be a destination, ever. Success is always the journey, always.
Oh, absolutely. I think we're always moving in a direction. And, I love the fact that you say it's like you set a goal for one thing, go to that, then the next, then the next. And it's like, I think when you're trying to create, I don't believe, other people might, I don't think you can make a 10-year plan. Like, this is how my life is going to be. You can have a direction that you want to be heading, and certainly I don't say don't have a goal for 10 years. Like, I want to, create this or be this or do that. But I think if you get stuck in a way that it has to be, and I think this is quite a revelation with the whole COVID-19 situation, that it's like, maybe we've been charging in business and life in this one direction, and now all of a sudden we've had to change that. And it's like, you can either sit there and go, it's not working, it's never going to be the same, but at some point you're just going to have to look the other direction and go, right, okay, well, if that opportunity now isn't there, and it may come back later, what are the other opportunities that are there for you to take? Because they are. It's just we can potentially have some blinkers on and be just looking at this one thing of like that.
Yeah, and that's easy to do, and that's also, I think humans do that naturally, because that's a feeling of safety for them. And it's not a natural feeling for people to put themselves out there all the time, and humans naturally do not like uncertainty. That's normal.
Yeah.
I'm probably a little bit abnormal, that I've always put myself in uncertain situations, and I've always just chopped and changed a lot. And psychologists, if I went to see them, would probably say that's got something to do with my, childhood and blah, blah, blah. But, you've got to be able to learn to live with uncertainty, being uncomfortable, and knowing that you'll still be okay. And that's not something that you can really be taught, but it's something you can develop yourself over time. Yeah.
It's interesting because I love the way you phrase that, because it's like, for me, what comes up when I hear you say that is like, it's like the more often that we can put ourselves into those challenging situations, they don't have to be extreme, like jumping off a waterfall or, quitting your day job. It doesn't have to be extreme. I think you can build resilience in all the small little challenges that you make, saying the things that you want to say when you haven't said them, saying yes to going to an adventure that you've always wanted to go, picking up the phone and calling somebody that you haven't spoken to in ages. There's so many ways to add little wins back into your life that can build that confidence and build that resilience to be able to adapt and like you say, the more comfortable you can be in the uncomfortable space, the easier you become at adapting to situations that change very rapidly, like we've been experiencing.
100%. Confidence is not something you're born with. It's something that you earn and you learn from doing unfamiliar things over and over again.
Yeah.
That's life. You just can't just get confidence. You actually have to put yourself out there and learn from those uncomfortable, unfamiliar situations.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So you mentioned you're an avid hunter and that you love to get out and do a whole lot of hunting. So how did that come about? That was all through being on the farm? Like, did you start at a super young age?
Sort of. It actually started with my stepdad, who I went on my first pig hunt when I was 14 years old.
Wow.
So it was pretty cool. I remember it vividly, probably more than most hunts I've been on now. And he would hunt with pig dogs. And so you're going out in the bush and you're like in the actual bush, and then the dogs take off and you don't hear them for a little bit, but then as soon as they've bailed up the pig, which is where the dogs back the pig into like a bank or some scrub or whatever, the dogs start barking. And then you have to run from wherever you are towards the sound of the dogs, no matter what. So you don't know what pig is there, whether it's like a little baby sow or whether it's a big boar. You don't know if you've got to cross gullies, creeks, rivers, Matagari bushes. And
Matagari. Ah.
You've just got to get there, because the longer you delay, the more likely it is that if it is a big boar, it'll attack the dogs. And so there's just this adrenaline, like trying to save your babies almost, like get there. And so the dog started bailing up this pig. And sorry for any vegans or anyone that's anti-hunting. I totally understand people that are not into it. So I do apologize. But the dogs take off after the pig. My stepdad hands me the gun, unloaded, hands me the gun, and he says, wait here. And then he takes off with his knife down the hill. And I'm sort of waiting there for about 5-10 minutes. And then I hear this, get up a tree. And I'm like, huh? And then I see this big boar just come up the hill with the dogs like hanging off it. And I was like, ah! And I like drop the gun and climb like 1 meter off the ground, like in this tree. And my stepdad's like running up and he just sticks it. And then we take it home, and that feeds like us forever. And we have like, we take the whole animal out and process all of the meat. And I was just like, this is so exciting and so cool. And because we've always had wild meat, and now I know that's how it's got. And I was just hooked, just absolutely hooked.
Wow.
And so
any chance of any hunting adventures for the ladies in the future, do you think?
Yeah, no, there definitely will be. Starting small, like for me, and I think most women are probably the same, I didn't want to go out shooting my first deer or my first animal until I felt like I was an ace shot. Like I wanted to be able to load that gun blind and be completely comfortable with it. And this is the difference between men and women. Like I've never actually taught a guy how to hunt. I've taught guys how to shoot, but never how to hunt. But seriously, guys will just go out with guys and the guy will hand them the gun. And it's like, it's expected that when you're born, you have a penis and you know how to work a gun. Like,
and reverse the car.
I'm like, have you shown him where the safety is? Like, have you shown him how if you rush the bolt action, it's going to jam and it's not going to go? Have you like shown him how to create a really good rest so like he's steady? And no, it's just like, here's a gun, shoot it. And it's like, fuck. And so I think what you did like with the guns, you start like women need to go a couple of times. They need to feel super comfortable with the gun. They need to be, you know, confident in their ability to control your breathing, get the right rest, not rush the shot. And a lot of men that, you know, in the early days, we'd be out hunting and I'd be looking through the scope, and you'll know this. Sometimes if you're not lined up, there's like blackness. And then sometimes when you're learning, like I have both eyes open now because you better peripheral, like, you know, if you can't see it through the scope, you know where to go. And they're just like, shoot it, shoot it, shoot it. And I'm like, I can't even see the fucking thing through the scope. Like, and there's so much pressure. Whereas when, whereas when you go with women, it's just, it doesn't matter if you don't take a shot. And if it takes you ages to line it up and then the deer walks away, better to do that than you wound it. And so, yeah, I think hunting adventures are definitely on the cards, but there'll be sort of pre-days. It'll be like a 3-day thing, I think.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I was like, when we were just talking about it, I was like, I don't think I've heard of any women's only like hunting trips around. I've got friends that hunt and they're always talking about bow hunting trips and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, when do the ladies get to go and do something like that? Because, you know, as someone who hasn't gone hunting, and I totally appreciate it when anybody brings back anything, it would be an experience. Like, I think it would, I don't know how I don't know how comfortable I would be. Like, there would be a part of me that would be really sad about killing an animal, but then, you know, it's ironic because I eat meat. So I think it would just be a sadness and an actual seeing of that all happen in its process. But I feel like it would be something that I would love to go and actually do. And I might surprise myself that there is a component of it. And so I go fishing, so that's kind of the same thing, you know. So yeah,
bunnies. Start off with bunnies. Because they're an absolute pest that spread disease. So you can like talk to yourself and like, these guys need to be gone, otherwise they're going to get 1080 poisoned, and that's a worse death. So I'm doing them a favor. And you just, that the hardest part is controlling yourself, your breathing and your anxiety and your adrenaline, and everything narrows to what's through the scope. And I would rather not take a shot if it's not 100% right. And so I there's never any pressure with me. I'm happy walking for hours, seeing something, taking 20 minutes to set up, and then it walking away. And I'm okay with that. A lot of guys aren't. They're just, you know, they're not about the adventure, they're about the kill.
Yeah.
Meat. I'm just about the adventure. And if I bring home something, great. That,
bonus.
You know, yeah.
Sounds amazing. I'd love to know, you know, growing up where you have and experiencing all the amazing farm life that you have, what have you got 3 women that have really sort of inspired you along the way, either doing what you're doing, creating what you've created, or just in life in general?
That's a really good question. And when I think back on this, I think it's great that young women have social media now, so they can actually access women that are outside their immediate circle. Growing up, my mum and my nan are like forces to be reckoned with. Like, they there is nothing that they can't do, and it's just their whole attitude, that get shit done attitude. They were very, very strong women. I wasn't that strong woman initially. A lot of things sort of happened in younger years, and you know, the boys and whatever, but I am so proud that I'm now one of those strong women that my mum and my nan were or are. And it's not that they're the best in anything, it's just it's the attitude that they could do anything. Mum had no idea how to renovate a house, and then she took on this old house when Dad and her divorced, and she just worked it out. There was no YouTube how-to videos back then or whatever. She would like talk to her friends and get a little bit of advice, and then Nan came in and started helping her. And then in the end, I think Mum's now renovated like 800-year-old houses, and she does all the tiling, like everything herself. She's amazing.
Wow.
And it's not something she was taught. She just gave it a go and just kept teaching herself. And I think that's just amazing. So I'm really lucky that my mum's one of my role models. I don't know how many people could say that.
That's beautiful. That's such a beautiful gift to pass down through you, and for you to go through your own journey to get to where you see yourself being now.
And in contrast, I'm a terrible painter and terrible at any of that stuff. Like, we're renovating a house at the moment. I'm like so bad at it, and I'm so gutted we're in lockdown because I'm like, Mum, can you come and help?
How do I paint this? I hate painting houses. It's so good though, because it's like, you know, we can these days pass everything on to everybody else, and it's like, I just in the weekend did my first service on my 4-wheel drive, and
nice,
freaking awesome. My guy flatmate very, 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 very patiently watched me. I was like, because he's mechanically minded, I was like, can you just hang out with me and just make sure I'm not breaking anything? But I did I changed the oil, so drained the oil. I had to take the 2 plates off underneath. Well, they recommended taking those off so that they didn't get oil up on them. Took those off, drained the oil, changed the air filter, changed the oil fuel filter, and changed the fuel filter. All 3. I was so chuffed, and I couldn't get to I got the oil filter tool, like the belt tool thing, because it's, you know, you need it to loosen off, but I was so short that I couldn't like reach in. I had to like kind of climb into the engine bay to get the leverage to undo it. But it was so freaking satisfying, and I don't think I will do that myself now, because it was definitely tricky, and it was hard to ask someone for help. And it was really amazing of him just to not take over, because I made that really clear. I was like, I want to do this. I want to be able to say at the end of this, I changed it, not my flatmate did it for me, and I watched him do it. It's like, I got my hands dirty and I did it. And it was it's just really empowering. Like, I can still feel myself buzzing over it, because I'm like, I did that. I did that.
You saved yourself, I don't know what, $100. You learnt a skill. You are going to be able to teach others how to do that now. Like, that's just, it's amazing. And that's what it's all about. For me, it was, I learned how to trim my own horse's hooves during lockdown, which was hard, physical.
Wow.
And how to use a chainsaw, which I've never done before at all.
Oh my God, that would be so great to learn to do that.
Like, it's a bit scary.
Such a need for this stuff for women. Like, you know, what you do, what Adventure Girls did, what all these other amazing women out there are creating businesses in same but different spaces as us. It's 100% needed. We need women to own the thing they love to do and do it, because there are women out there like us who just are gagging to be empowered and be able to not take care of ourselves, like we don't need anybody, but to be able to take care of ourselves.
It's exactly that. And it's, I think this lockdown's going to inspire a lot of people to get out there and learn more practical skills as well. you know, the only thing that I saw on the highway for weeks was the wood delivery trucks. That was all you saw. That was all that was allowed. And, you know, if you're in a place where you can get it, to go out and get your own, it's just so fulfilling. And like for a lot of people, I made bread for the first time. And so for
I think you and everybody else in the
I know,
world.
obviously. But like for other people, it doesn't have to be really physical stuff, but it could be learning how to bake. It could be, you know, you take some old wreckage mirror from the secondhand store and you make it your own. It's just doing something that you have a little bit of pride in.
Yeah. I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah.
So then what, to wrap this up, what would be one message that you have for men out there that want to have some more fun and adventure in their lives, and maybe they're just afraid of taking that step to do those things?
It's firstly, find the right person to do it with is really important. And I don't learn just off females. I have plenty of men that are really patient, that respect me for what I do and who I am, and that don't make me feel like an idiot, you know, if I don't get it right first time. So, you know, if it's something like chainsaw or something where you really need to be shown how to do something to do it safely, get the right person. If it's something where you can turn your hand at it yourself because there's no danger to you at all, then don't try and do all the YouTube videos and the fact finding. Do a little bit to get a general overview idea, but then just give it a go. And you don't need to be perfect and you don't need to get it right. That's not important. In fact, it's like completely irrelevant. It's just the mere fact by giving it a go, you'll at least learn something. Whether, you know, one day we had an old microwave that we were throwing out, and I was bored, obviously. So I decided to take it apart and then put it back together. And I was like,
wow,
I'm just gonna take it all out. And I'm gonna put these screws there and that there. And there were a few parts left over, but I know I now know what the inside of a microwave looks like. But you just give it a go, and there doesn't always need to be an outcome. The outcome is you doing it and going through the journey, just like life, you know. Just don't let anything get in the way. And we are terrible with the self-doubt. I still do it. The self-doubt is like the killer for ingenuity and innovation, and it's not about getting it done, it's about giving it a go. That's my mantra anyway.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And it's like, you know, I think on that self-doubt topic, I don't think self-doubt ever really goes away. Like we might have stints where we're completely feeling like we've got our shit together and we're on form, and that self-doubt is, you know, it's not even a thought. You know, you're powering on, you're getting it done, you're living in the moment and all of that. And then we have days where it's just like that self-doubt voice comes back, and sometimes it's really strong and it really holds us back. But and other days it's not so bad. It never really ever goes away fully, I don't believe anyway. I think it's being able to take action even when you are in those moments of self-doubt, even if it's just a tiny little step. It doesn't have to be the jumping the, you know, entire Grand Canyon in one go, that it's like those baby steps. So I love that you brought up the whole sort of self-doubt thing, and that it's there for you at times. I think that's true for everybody, and it's such a nice thing to know that it's not just, you know, in those days we're like, is it me? Why me? It's like, oh no, honey, we all got it.
And then just my favorite saying is Albert Einstein: the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And if you are wanting to learn something, be a stronger, more empowered woman, like just whatever it is, it doesn't have to be the big burly Cape practical Southern girl thing. It might just be there's an area where you're really wanting to do, or you're really unhappy at your job and you have this passion for making candles or whatever it is. if you do the same thing over and over, nothing is ever going to change. And you don't have to make massive changes, just small ones, just tiny, tiny, tiny steps. And 3 years later, you'll look back and go, damn, and that's all it takes.
Laura, it has been so lovely catching up with you. I don't know why we don't catch up more often. Probably because you're out usually on the farm shooting shit and showing people how it is to be a real country girl.
Good R rolling.
I've been working on it.
Yeah.
I have some friends from way down south. So
Oh, it was so good to see you, Senka, and just thank you so much for having me on. And if there's any women out there that want to touch base, I'm at Real Country NZ on Instagram and Facebook. I'm super active. I do try to respond to everyone. So yeah, if there's any questions or anything you want to know, or just to touch base, I'm always here. I'm always happy to chat to people that need a bit of a hand or want a bit of a kick up the ass or are just passionate about the things I'm passionate about.
I know, it's awesome. The world needs more of that expression. So it's brilliant. So we will put Laura's links to her, to Real Country, her Insta, and also her website, so you can check out her cool stuff, reach out to her if you're in her area. I know that she'd probably love to hear from you and all that sort of stuff. So it's been a total pleasure. I know for sure. I think the biggest thing that I loved hearing you talk about with your business and stuff like that is that the landscape may be really different right now, and that the way that business was 6 weeks ago isn't going to be that way for a period of time. But when it comes back, the business will be there because you are still passionate about it. And hearing you say that, just and the way that you said it, is like, that's probably one of the big things I really took out of our conversation today, and amongst a shitload of other cool stuff.
I wish I could have a catch up. It's been so long.
I know. I was like, it's like when I catch up with her, I'm like, man, an hour is never long enough, because like we're only scratching the surface on the stuff we can talk about, and we haven't even gone into talking about all of the cool adventure stuff that's around in your area and all that sort of stuff. So maybe we'll have a part 2 for you.
And I'm engaged to the most gorgeous man, the best man in the world. So that's my latest news. Very exciting.
Yeah, girl. So it's beautiful. It's beautiful to see that you've, and it's isn't it interesting that when you step into the space of who you really are, your Southern girl space, what turns up for you?
Yeah.
And who? Because you are being you.
Should be in your life. It's that simple.
Yeah. Amen, sister. Oh, I want to keep talking, but I'm sure the ladies have probably heard enough from us. I will put Laura's, you can catch up with her. She will talk the air off you for anything around that space as much as I would. So I'll put her contact details with this video, so you can click through, check her stuff out. Please make sure you go and follow her stuff. And like all the amazing women out here that I interview that do actually have businesses, please go and support them. You know me, since I started Adventure Girls nearly 20 years ago, I have been all about getting women out to New Zealand to do stuff in New Zealand. I cannot talk about how beautiful New Zealand is enough, and the cool shit that we have out there right in our own backyard. So to have other women like Laura running amazing businesses, I just want us all to go and support all these amazing places that we have in New Zealand, and these amazing women who are running businesses out there. So go check her stuff out. Make sure you follow her, and when she's back up and running, or you might even do a finishing school.
Thanks, Senka.
You are very welcome. I'll chat to you again soon.
Okay, bye, babe.
Bye.